The following program is sponsored by CBN.
Coming up, a teen is sent to Rikers Island.
This is how this ends.
And makes a name for himself on day one.
I stabbed them, honestly, for no reason, just to make a statement.
Watch what happens when he meets a familiar face behind bars.
I had no choice but to listen.
Plus, Seattle Seahawks Pro Bowler Doug Baldwin gets his game face on.
Somewhere in my emotional furniture, I have this need for more.
See what goes through his mind right before he hits the huddle.
As a competitor, I have this greed, if you will, to win.
On today's 700 Club.
Well, welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to this edition of the 700 Club. I want to correct something that I've been saying the last several days. I don't think the United States should come against Saudi Arabia as such, because they're valuable partners, and we need them in the fight against Islamic extremism coming out of Iran. Nevertheless, it looks like there is a guy, they call him MBS, Mohammed bin Salman, and it looks like it was his hit team that killed the journalist, and who's been, terrorizing his brothers, holding them hostage, taking ransom from them, and enacting sort of thuggish type of behavior. The president has the power. He said if he takes his authority away from him, that he will be gone. I think he's the one they need to deal with. We don't need to sanction the Saudis. We certainly don't need to do something like that. It would be very foolish. But this one man, apparently, is the author of some of these horrible things. And I think he should be dealt with severely. And his father's the king. And it's time the king say, I'm sorry, son, you've stepped over the line and you're out of office. It's just that simple. Now let's take a look at what's happening in the Middle East. I think when Israel pulled out of Gaza, it was a great mistake. But there are Israeli settlers in there who had prosperous farms and businesses, and they were forcibly ejected. Well, what came into Gaza? Hamas. And now it looks like they're on the brink of war. A rocket fired from the terrorist group Hamas struck a home in southern Israel. And now the Israelis say, we're going to fight back. Their warplanes hit 20 different targets inside Gaza today. Wendy?
The retaliation comes after Israel's defense minister warned about a potential war in Gaza, and Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu promised painful blows against Hamas. As Chris Mitchell tells us from Jerusalem, the threats come after 7 months of violence along Israel's southern border.
Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said Israel may choose a different way to confront Hamas's violence.
We're close to a different kind of action. This action will include very painful blows. If Hamas is smart, it will cease its fire and violent outbursts now.
Hamas-led riots began on March 30th. IDF spokesman Jonathan Conricus told CBN News Hamas plans events for different days. On Monday, it's the beach.
For instance, Mondays are always the naval riots, when they embark from the Gaza harbor and they try to breach into Israeli waters.
Friday is the weekly main event,
where an average of about 18,000 rioters gather in 6 different locations, trying to violently get across into Israel, becoming more and more violent. We see a clear escalation in violence in the weapons that they use. Last Friday, the most violent attempt, IEDs were placed by Palestinians on the fence, were detonated, and that blew a hole in the fence through which 20 or so Palestinians got in, and they tried to assault an IDF position. Hamas is actively pushing Palestinians towards the fence, really escalating the level of violence and trying to get Palestinians killed on the fence.
Ambassador Michael Oren addressed the Gaza situation to Christian journalists from around the world.
The demonstrator is the new missile. It's actually a better missile because in most cases it's usage, and they get the picture. They get the picture of innocent kids being killed by Israel, which causes the same type of damage. It erodes our national legitimacy.
Earlier, CBN News got a first-hand look at what Israeli soldiers have faced for more than half a year.
It's not legitimate and civilian riot. The leaders of the riot is Hamas, and they are trying to challenge us.
Hamas has also flown hundreds of arson balloons into Israel that burned thousands of acres of Israeli farmland. The goal of Hamas is to infiltrate into Israeli border communities to attack Israeli civilians.
It should be very clear to our enemies that there is a limit to the amount of violence that can be tolerated, to the amount of terror that is inflicted upon Israeli civilians. And of course, IDF has the tools and the capabilities to defend against those.
Chris Mitchell, CBN News, Jerusalem.
Well, that's an example of what happens when you try to make nice with terrorists. You see, the government of Israel under a previous prime minister decided, oh, look, we're going to be nice. We're going to give Gaza back to the Palestinian Authority, and we'll live in harmony and peace together. Well, it just didn't work that way. But say a number of Israeli settlers who had prosperous lives in the Gaza area and were building up something there responsibly, they were forcibly ejected by Israel. Forcibly ejected. It was a tragedy. At the time, I mentioned it was bad, and of course, I got a lot of heat for that. Many times, I'm a little ahead of the game, and when the guys finally catch up, it's too late. But in any event, we spoke at that time. It was a mistake. It was a terrible mistake to force Israeli settlers to leave Gaza. If they hadn't given it over, it wouldn't have had. But now they have a terrorist outpost, and instead of the Palestinian Authority taking charge, Hamas took charge.
They just brought the enemy closer.
That's all they did. I mean, but when they forced the Israeli settlers out, and oh man, I got all kinds of trouble when I mentioned the fact that this was a terrible thing to do.
Yeah, I saw a documentary on that once, on that withdrawal from Gaza, and it was heart-wrenching. These people, the Jewish people, did not want to leave. This was their homes. They had families. They had farms. It was so heart-wrenching.
Well, it was forcible, too. The Israeli government forcibly caused those people to leave. It was a dreadful mistake.
But, you know, that's how bad they want peace. And, you know, if we were living in that with the rockets falling on us daily, we might be that desperate, too,
That's right.
You know. But you're right. It ended up being one of the biggest mistakes they ever made.
It was terrible. But you can't make peace. It's like trying to placate a crocodile and make him believe he's going to be nice and not try to eat you. That's not going to work that way. But Hamas has come in. So what's Israel faced with? It'll look bad if they send planes, as they have, to bomb targets in Gaza. It'll look bad. It'll look like they're being bullies. But what they may have to do, and they maybe should have done, was to go in and take over that area again and say, look, we made a big mistake. We're going to set up settlements again. They should have done it, but they didn't, and now it may be too late. In any event, we are on the side of peace. We want peace. We want people to live in peace together. But you've got a terrorist group. Their whole modus operandi, their raison d'etre, their reason to be, is action, forcible action against Israel. That's how they get their money. That's who supports them. And they're not going to be at peace ever, not ever, with Israel. Well, new reports could escalate a diplomatic crisis between the U.S. and Saudi Arabia. As I mentioned before, it looks like that Prince MBS is the main actor. John Jessup has more on that.
That's right, Pat. Published reports are now connecting the Saudi crown prince to the suspects in the disappearance of Washington Post columnist Jamal Khashoggi. Dale Hurd has the story.
A pro-government Turkish newspaper has published a gruesome account of the alleged murder of Saudi writer Jamal Khashoggi at the Saudi consulate in Istanbul, showing the writer was tortured before he was killed. The Saudi Consul General reportedly is heard on tape saying, "Do this outside. You're going to get me in trouble." He was told, "Shut up if you want to live." And a New York Times report says 3 of the suspects in the alleged Saudi hit squad served as part of the Crown Prince's security team. President Trump, who earlier warned of severe punishment if the kingdom was found responsible for Khashoggi's disappearance, warned against rushing to conclusions.
And it depends whether or not the king or the crown prince knew about it, in my opinion. Number one, what happened, but whether or not they knew about it. If they knew about it, that would be bad.
Secretary of State Mike Pompeo arrived in Turkey today after holding talks with Saudi leaders in Riyadh.
In each of those meetings, I stressed the importance of them conducting a complete investigation of the disappearance of Jamal Khashoggi. And they made a commitment. They said they would do that.
Republican Senator Lindsey Graham, a longtime Saudi supporter, warned of a serious problem in the U.S.-Saudi relationship if the royal family was involved.
He had this guy murdered in a consulate in Turkey, and to expect me to ignore it, I feel used and abused. I'm going to do it. We're going to sanction the hell out of Saudi Arabia.
But some experts do not expect a serious breach in U.S.-Saudi relations, even if the royal family is held responsible. Because with Iran expanding its influence in the region, there's too much at stake.
The United States is supporting Saudi Arabia in its military efforts against Iranian-backed Houthi rebels inside Yemen. So it's a very complex picture.
That's one reason some expect Washington to try to help Saudi Arabia find a way out of the political mess it faces over the disappearance of Jamal Khashoggi. Dale Hurd, CBN News.
Thanks, Dale. And Pat, as that expert just said, it is a complex situation there.
It's complex, but it's relatively simple. There's one guy who's the actor, and it's MBS, Mohammed bin Salman. And he has taken power. He's acting like a thug. He's got thugging people working for him. And he's decided he's going to beat up on anybody he wants to. The whole government of Saudi Arabia shouldn't have to bear the price of him. So turn him over. The king, I mean, how many princes have they got over there? They've got so many pretenders to the throne. They've got all these brothers of the founder of Saudi Arabia's, Ibn Saud, and he had a whole bunch of sons, and they in turn have got a whole bunch of sons. There are plenty of princes. They can pick one to run the country. They don't have to go along with MBS. So I think it's time they offer him up, and Trump's got to say to the king, look, you know, we can't hurt you because we're friends, but you've got to give us the sacrificial lamb, and that's who we want. We want his head on a platter. End of story. Well, President Trump is out campaigning. He's got something to say, and here's John with more on that.
That's right, Pat. President Trump says his campaigning for Republican candidates is having a, quote, very big impact. The president told the Associated Press he thinks he's helping people. Meanwhile, recent economic news is helping. Unemployment now at a nearly 50-year low, with more jobs available than there are unemployed people. An index by the World Economic Forum says for the first time in a decade, the United States economy is the most competitive in the world. Still, President Trump thinks we could be doing better. He criticized Fed Chairman Jerome Powell for raising interest rates and creating a drag on the economy. Well, conservative voters are also happy with the president for putting Justice Brett Kavanaugh on the Supreme Court. In fact, both Democrats and Republicans are reporting a boost in polling and fundraising following Kavanaugh's confirmation. And as CBN's Jenna Browder reports, the battle may have woken up an otherwise sleepy Republican base.
The countdown to Election Day is on as Democrats and Republicans battle over the control of Congress. On both sides, the message is simple. Everyone must vote. The big question, who will actually turn out?
You know, if there's anything that excites Republican voters, it's the Supreme Court.
Kayleigh McEnany, national spokeswoman for the Republican National Committee, says she's confident GOP voters know what's at stake.
But what's interesting here in particular, we're seeing the 2016 effect play again. A Pew poll showed a few months ago, 1 month ago, I should say, a 12-point gap, Democrats ahead of Republicans. That has narrowed to just 2 in the wake of the post-Kavanaugh revelations and confirmation process.
Axios calls it the Brett bounce. House. Up until the contentious Kavanaugh Supreme Court fight, Democrats seemed to have most of the energy. But now the polling pendulum appears to be swinging. In North Dakota, for example, a Fox News poll shows Democratic Senator Heidi Heitkamp down 12 points from her Republican challenger, Representative Kevin Cramer. Last month, she was only down 4 points. And an NPR PBS NewsHour Martis poll finds Democratic enthusiasm from earlier this year has all but disappeared.
My sense in covering politics in 2018 is that anger is the single most unifying force, galvanizing force you can have.
ABC News political director Rick Klein says anger is fueling both sides, and one survey gives Democrats a slight edge heading into November. The Washington Post Schar School survey shows likely voters in 69 House districts prefer Democratic candidates to Republican candidates, 50 to 46%. Klein says the Democrats' loss in the Kavanaugh confirmation could translate to a midterm win.
If you lose a battle, there's nothing better to motivate your base to go out there and vote the next time. And by that I mean if Republicans, they get their Supreme Court pick, that means Democrats are going to say, well, we got to go do something to try to change this.
But each of you will have a chance in just 4 weeks to render your verdict on the Democrats' conduct at the ballot box.
President Trump is also banking on Kavanaugh's confirmation and the Democrats' handling of it.
You don't hand matches to an arsonist, and you don't give power to an angry left-wing mob.
In Washington, Jenna Browder, CBN News.
Thanks, Jenna. Well, the death toll from Hurricane Michael is still rising. So far, we know the storm has killed 29 people across 4 states. Nearly half of the fatalities happened in Florida's Bay County, where the Category 4 storm made landfall. The number of dead could continue to rise as authorities search the devastated areas. Hurricane Michael was, of course, one of the most powerful storms to hit the United States, and Panama City Beach resident Steve Wilkerson saw its full force. The high winds toppled trees right on top of his home. Steve thought it was going to cost thousands to clean up, but he didn't spend a cent, thanks to Operation Blessing.
Like so many communities in the Panhandle, the city of Lynn Haven, Florida is dealing with a very real problem, and that is of huge trees down over driveways, on top of people's cars, and worst of all for folks, on top of their homes. And many residents do not even know where to begin. But Operation Blessing is looking to change that. 69-year-old Steve Wilkerson survived the nightmare of Hurricane Michael, but ended up with enormous pine trees on his home. He described enduring the storm.
A roaring sound outside, the wind, things flying horizontally, 4 big crashing sounds when the trees hit the house. All of us were surprisingly calm. Maybe we were just so scared it was to the max and we couldn't feel it anymore. It was just normal to be scared. But the house survived.
Steve and his family are grateful to be alive, but recovery has been a challenge.
There's no power, no water, no telephones, no internet. I bet it would be $15,000 to $20,000 to move every tree out of my yard because I had a lot of big trees.
Steve had no idea what would happen next. Operation Blessing volunteers rolled up with chainsaws and heavy moving equipment.
And when y'all drove up today, to be honest, I thought it was just another crew coming up, you know, well, $2,000 a tree, we'll remove them all. And then in comes these smiling faces with God's love in their heart and their mind. And I'm totally stunned and moved. You know, it's hard to keep from crying. And I like to think I'm a pretty tough old guy, but, you know, sometimes tears are appropriate.
Drew Anthony drove from Georgia to be a part of Operation Blessing's disaster relief volunteer force.
When you see that joy, when you see that hope, you know, someone that's gone through so much, obviously, and you're able to just be that love and that arm around their shoulders. I mean, it's there's nothing like it. You walk away with a smile on your face because you're just excited to help out.
Members of Lighthouse Church also came out to help.
We appreciate you guys for coming in and just kind of being a part of our church, because we couldn't do all this without you guys either. So it's a great partnership with everyone. Appreciate CBN and Operation Blessing. It's just an awesome network. So honestly, wasn't that familiar with them before this, but man, they're on top of it. You guys have some good people.
It's a privilege to meet you and spend time with you.
If you ever doubt God's love, survive something like this and you will see it all around you.
I really like what Steve said, Pat, smiling faces with God's love. That's Operation Blessing.
If you ever doubt God's love, look around you. People are showing love. And Operation Blessing is usually the first on the scene and the last to leave. We're in there with helping those people. We've got mobile kitchens giving them hot meals. We've got crews full of equipment, trucks full of necessary building equipment so they can get in there with the necessary saws and axes and so forth to take away the trees, to take away the debris, and also to help rebuild those homes. We're there for them, and we've got skilled people to do it. So if you want to participate, this is your chance. And Wendy, you've got something more too.
Yeah, we need volunteers, Pat. The relief efforts, as you see, are going to be there ongoing for a while. Operation Blessing needs your help. Volunteers should meet at the OB Mobile Command Center located at Lighthouse Church. That's 1616 Allison Avenue in Panama City Beach, Florida. Volunteers must be 18 years old and able to get transportation to and from the work site. And for more information about volunteering, just call the number on your screen, 1-800-677-7974, 1-800-677-7974, or you can go to ob.org. And that story really got me.
I noticed you do. You're over there crying about it.
I am overwhelmed. I mean, we know what Operation Blessing does, but just to see that, the devastation, and to know that these people would have been just in horrible straits without it.
The suffering is unimaginable. You just imagine what it would be like that you don't have any money, and all of a sudden your electricity is out. You don't have a telephone, you don't have internet, you don't have any way of communicating with the outside world. You have no food, you have no water. I mean, it is a desperate plight. And we're in there to help people, but of course it's going to take some money to do it, and we need your help on that one too. So it's 1-800-700-7000. And remember, Operation Blessing Disaster Relief Fund. It's going to go on for a while. I mean, you've got these disasters all the way up and down. You had that terrible flooding in Texas. Then you've got this terrible flooding in North and South Carolina. And you've got this awful hurricane that came into Florida and then swept up into Alabama and Georgia. The people are suffering, and we're going to help them every way we can. And you want to be part of doing that. So give us a call and say, look, you can count on me. Wendy, what do you got?
Well, still ahead, the one-year anniversary of an unthinkable tragedy when two young siblings were murdered by their own brother.
There has been days when I walk away from here, though, with just a little bit better hope. My hope has more confidence.
See how this family is holding strong through these tough times when we come back.
This next story will shock you. It's a shocking story. Why did it happen? What grief, what horror. Exactly 1 year ago today, a Colorado couple faced an unimaginable tragedy. Their two youngest children were stabbed to death by some stranger, no, by their oldest son. And in this CBN News exclusive, the mother and father share the story of love, loss, and finding a way to forgiveness. Ephraim Graham has that.
With daily visits to the cemetery,
Even at 254, day 254,
Melissa and Vincent Murphy count the days since their children were murdered. 5-year-old Sophia Grace and 7-year-old Noah Kent, the youngest of their 5.
it was just like, this is my first day without my Noah and my Sophia.
And at 19, their oldest son, Malik, is charged with stabbing his brother and sister to death and stabbing his father.
Now, in Molly, this one, well, it has the whole community upset.
The crime stunned the Colorado Springs community.
That deadly attack happened at about 1 o'clock this morning.
Take me back to October 17th. What's the day like?
That is a
kind of a painful part about all of this is that it was a very normal, enjoyable day. We kind of did the same routine that we always do, and had dinner, and it was a nice night, and so we were all outside as a family.
And even Malik, because not all the time Malik comes outside to play with them in the evenings with the little kids, and he did that night. He was out there playing with Vinny and Elijah and Noah and everybody, and they were all playing football, and yeah, everything was, and then we came inside and did the whole bedtime routine, and my very last sentence was, "Mommy loves you."
Shortly after 1 a.m., I awoke to the sound of Sophia's voice saying, "No, Malik, no." And got up. As soon as I reached the threshold of the doorway, Malik turned, met me face to face, and then his hand went up when he had a knife and down in my neck. I instantly reacted and just pushed him through the door, the garage door there, and into the garage, and yelled for help. I mean, some of the yells were for help, and some of it was the realization that he had done what we feared he would do.
For years, Vincent and Melissa stood by their son in his battles with mental illness. He'd been in and out of treatment centers for thoughts of violence, but he never acted on them, and therapists cleared him to be back at home.
At what point do you realize that your two youngest children are dead?
I remember hearing my mom when I was in that garage, and between these guys, I heard my mom yell, "Sophia's been stabbed." I ran inside, I left, and I didn't know they were upstairs, so I ran down to them to find her. And I found Noah first. I knew he was gone.
Home for Malik right now is here at the El Paso County Correctional Center. Mom has been here to see him at least a half dozen times. Dad has been here as well, but both will never forget that very first time following the stabbing deaths of Noah and Sophia.
Well, it was hard for me, definitely hard for me. By this time, there's a lot pent up and built up.
Malik told me that he has things he wants to say to me and his dad. He has a lot he wants to say. He said he actually sat down with his attorney and told his attorney everything that he wanted to say to us, and they told him not to say those things. So I remember my advice back to Malik was, well, Malik, your attorneys are going to give you good courtroom advice, and then there's also your moral advice, and that's going to be different than from what they give you. I said, because you do owe your dad and I an apology and an explanation.
What's your prayer and hope for him right now, as mom and dad? What do you want to see happen with him?
Well, my hope and prayer, honestly, for him is salvation. It's for salvation. I believe in eternity. Heaven is real. God is real. And so that's what I pray for now is for his salvation.
There are a lot of things that we want in the flesh. We want answers, and we want to feel. We want closure, and we want...
You may not get those.
But we may not get those.
As his parents, have you reached a point of saying, "I forgive you, son"?
Well, that is definitely the battle. And that's a long-term battle. That's something we're working through.
I think it kind of reflects our personal relationship with God, where we are individually with our personal relationship with Christ, is how we're walking out the road of forgiveness.
Melissa and Vincent walk the forgiveness road together with every trip to the cemetery and every prayer she records in her journal.
We don't have to spend our time hating Malik, because God is going to vindicate us, and his love will endure forever. I've allowed the truth to comfort me and give me hope.
In writing, Melissa knows Malik's battle and their family's fight is a spiritual one.
And there has been days when I walk away from here, though, with just a little bit better hope. My hope has more confidence, a little bit more hope in the reality of where Noah and Sophia are and how real heaven really is.
Ephraim Graham, CBN News, Colorado Springs, Colorado.
an unimaginable tragedy. You know, the mental illness is a strange thing, and I am persuaded that many of the drugs that we're giving people, these antidepressants and these Ritalin and all the stuff you get little kids, I think it fosters this type of violence. I think people don't realize what they're dealing with. Well, this week, Malik Murphy entered a plea of not guilty by reason of insanity. The Murphys released this statement, which says, quote, "We are still heartbroken, but we are steadfast in refusing to run away from God and give in to fear and hopelessness." Well, God bless them. That is an exclusive here for CBN News, but it's something that touched the heart of all of us, Wendy. It really is tragic.
And they said, you know, that their battle is forgiveness, walking that out daily.
You know, if you realize that your child has been captured, you know, by an evil force, and I just believe some of these medications are just that. They capture a child's mind.
Yeah.
And I don't think doctors and psychiatrists realize the impact of these potent drugs. I don't think they understand what's being done to people.
Yeah, they always have those disclaimers that, you know, when, on TV when they talk about them, that this could kill you or cause you to do something. But, you know, a lot of people are living through similar grief, and we want to help you. We've got a pamphlet called Living Through Grief. You can call the number on your screen. This is absolutely free. We want you to have it. If you need it, just call us right now. Well, up next, a gangsta teen hits the streets with one goal in mind.
It was an outlet for me to express total anarchy. So if I was going to be evil, I became very evil.
See why this evil teen was no match for his own aunt when we return.
Welcome to the 700 Club. We've got a bunch of stuff for you today, and one more amazing story. We just keep having them because it's important that you see what's going on in our world. Well, Alexander Pagani was a teen staring down 20 years of hard time. What is called his rap sheet included robbery, burglary, and kidnapping. And he was about to have the book thrown at him again. But as he was waiting to be sentenced, Alexander witnessed something unexpected, a miracle in the courtroom.
By the time I hit maybe about 11 to 12 years old, I was already getting arrested. And by 14, I'm sitting in a juvenile detention center facing at least 1 year in prison.
Alexander Pagani grew up on the streets of the Bronx. His parents were involved in the drug culture. And Alexander quickly decided he was on his own.
I felt completely rejected and totally embraced that sense of orphan or abandonment. And I just lived for myself. Like, it's just me, and I'm gonna do whatever I have to do to survive, just me.
For Alexander, survival meant joining a gang.
It appealed to me because it was an outlet for me to express total anarchy.
His goal was dominance, so he lived life to the extreme.
I remember exaggerating that street lifestyle when I didn't have to, or feeling like I did have something to prove. So if I was going to be evil, I became very evil.
Alexander's extended family tried to reach out and reason with him, especially his Christian grandmother.
I would tell my grandmother, "Come on, Ma, don't start with that church stuff. I'll go when I'm ready."
By the time Alexander was 16, he was facing hard time for robbery, burglary, and kidnapping. He was transferred to Rikers Island to await sentencing. But as soon as he arrived, he attacked 2 other inmates.
I stabbed them, honestly, for no reason, just to make a statement.
He was sent to solitary confinement for nearly a year. The time alone was sobering.
I'm 17 years old, and I have nothing. And this is how this ends. I think I was at the lowest that I could be.
Alexander's aunt, Vilma, worked at Rikers as a youth counselor.
Tell him, listen, you've tried everything else. Why don't you try Jesus?
So she began to be my voice of reason because I had no choice but to listen. Here I am.
One of the guards at the prison also got Alexander's attention.
There was just something about him that really appealed to me. And I said, man, this guy really he's really into Jesus. You know, this God thing, he's really into that. I could look right in his eyes and I would see complete peace. I didn't have that. I wanted that. I didn't even know where to start. So I started with the Christian officer.
Alexander planned to dispute the charges against him. But when he went to court to be sentenced, something unusual happened.
When I walked in, I heard a voice saying, they're going to give you 9 years. You are to take it. When I heard that voice, I do remember saying to myself, who's that? Who's speaking to me? And when I look up, the courtroom had behind the judge, "In God We Trust." The word God shot like rays of light, came out the word God and came into me, like into my mind.
The judge agreed to lower his sentence from 21 years to 9 if Alexander pled guilty.
I knew God was talking to me. So without even thinking about what was told to me, I had pleaded guilty very quickly. I said, yes, I did it. And the next thing I know, I'm being whisked away.
When he got back to his cell, Alexander wrote a letter to his aunt, explaining what had just happened.
I'm telling her how I believe God wants me to change, but I'm really having a hard time making that transition. But I know that I need to, and I'm beginning to want to, because I want to go to heaven. When I wrote the word because, Jesus Christ came in my cell, and he speaks to my right ear, follow me. And I lifted my hand, and when I said I accept, it felt like things were breaking off of me. And I felt so peaceful, I fell asleep.
When he woke up the next day, he was a changed man.
Cigarettes, the pornography, the cursing, everything instantaneously left me. And I lived for Jesus behind prison walls.
As Alexander studied the Bible, God became more than just a powerful force he feared.
I read Romans chapter 8, where it says we have the spirit of adoption, where we cry, Abba, Father. I clearly remember that day having a problem calling God Father. I realized that my relationship with the Lord is based on me loving him, not fearing him. And I began to love him to this day. Just, he's my father. He's everything that I have.
Today, Alexander is married. He's also an author and now serves the same neighborhood he once terrorized. Alexander's family now attends his church, and his Aunt Vilma is amazed at the change in him.
Nothing is impossible, especially when God is in the mix. He's a different person. He really is. He really, really is.
Make the transition, surrender to the Lord. He'll radically change your life.
What a wonderful story. You know, I think the greatest miracle, we see all kinds of miracles, but the greatest miracle is a transformed life. It really is. Here's a young man who's filled with hate. He wants to stab people. He's in prison for years. And yet God transforms him, making him into a new person. If anybody's in Christ, he's a new creation. Old things have passed away. That really is the greatest miracle of all, is to take somebody who is just steeped in sin and rebellion and hatred and bitterness and all the rest of it, make him into a new creature, like overnight. It's amazing. And you say, well, how about me? Well, how about you? All you've got to do is ask the Lord. Turn it over to him. Say, yes, Lord, I will receive you. I will take you as my Savior. It's just that simple. And if you do, the Lord himself will come and make you a new creature. If any man is in Christ, he is a new creation. Old things have passed away. Behold, all has become new. A whole bright future is in your path if you just come to the Lord. He will do the work. Turn it over to him. Watch what he does. Wendy, what you got?
Thanks, Pat. Well, still ahead, the two-time Pro Bowl receiver tells us how he gets ready for game time.
Is to go win the Super Bowl. We will do that because my goal is to make sure that you have everything you need to be at your very best.
CBN Sports sits down with Doug Baldwin, so don't go away.
Welcome back to the 700 Club. A victory for religious freedom in Atlanta. The city agreed to pay its former fire chief $1.2 million for unjustly firing him for sharing his biblical beliefs. Kelvin Cochran was terminated for handing out a devotional book he wrote to his coworkers, which mentioned the biblical view that homosexuality is a sin. Last year, a judge ruled the city violated Cochran's First Amendment rights to free speech. The city council voted on Monday to pay the former fire chief, recognizing he had been unjustly treated. Well, Switzerland recently voted to make homophobia illegal or to discriminate against anyone in the LGBT community. The National Council, the lower house in the Swiss legislature, voted 118 to 60 in favor of a law saying anyone guilty of homophobia will face heavy fines or up to 3 years in prison. Even though the law against homophobia has passed, same-sex marriage remains illegal in Switzerland. Well, you can always get the latest from CBN News by going to our website at cbnnews.com. Pat and Wendy will be back with more of the 700 Club right after this.
Well, on the field, Seattle Seahawks wide receiver Doug Baldwin is all about separation. He needs to create distance between himself and the defenders so his quarterback can throw him the ball. Off the field, Baldwin is all about unity, bringing together different groups of people and helping them find common ground. Recently, he told CBN News that jobs aren't easy, but he has something that helps give him an edge.
Pro Bowl receiver Doug Baldwin is one of the NFL's most respected playmakers. The undrafted 8-year veteran is explosive, strong, and deliberate, both on and off the field. He consults corporate, government, and school leaders, but is better known from beating his defenders at the point of attack after the snap.
When do you know you've won that battle?
I would like to say that it starts much earlier than when you're actually on the line of scrimmage, right? There's a lot of preparation that goes into it, a lot of film study, a lot of workouts. So typically when you go into the game, you have the mindset that you have the tools in your toolbox to go out there and win. The visualization part of it is having a visual reel so that if you ever get into a situation where you start to doubt your talents, you go back to seeing what you are at your best.
Does that competitive drive as a player ever entrap you?
Absolutely.
As a person?
It does. I'm very passionate about competing. And I wear my emotions on my sleeve. I let it be known how I feel. And somewhere in my emotional furniture, I have this need for more as a competitor. I have this greed, if you will, to win. God has already blessed me with everything that I would ever need and more. And so I have to make sure that I'm taking a step back and realizing that sometimes because my competitive nature will entrap me in a number of ways.
So what's the escape hatch? What frees you?
There's always going to be these obstacles that you have to overcome. And so the only thing that I would say that's spiritually freed me is knowing where my blessings come from, of who I want to become and where I plan on going, but not just in life, but when I pass on. All of that factors in. You can have a relief knowing that Jesus died on the cross for us.
You've been visible in social, political, cultural dialogue. What, Doug, do you think earns a voice to effectively move together?
Empathy. It's very hard to get people to hear you if you don't feel them. People won't remember what you said to them. They necessarily won't remember what you did to them, but they'll remember how you made them feel. And it breaks away all the layers that we put up, the insecurities, everything that we do to protect ourselves. Empathy hits really at the core of that. You know, the conflicts that we have and not understanding each other would be much easier to mend and to get to.
What does empathy bring that compassion can't?
What empathy looks like is when somebody says something happened to them that's bad, they say, yeah, I know. And you sit there in that emotion with them and you ask them, how does that make you feel? You don't have to offer solutions. What you're doing is just being present in that moment, in that pain, in that hurt with somebody. And even if you don't fully understand what that is, by asking the questions, by being present, eventually it's going to penetrate your own heart and you'll feel that pain as well.
Have you identified a bond that runs deeper than teaming?
I have tribe as compared to a team. The difference between a team and a tribe. In a team, everybody's working towards a common goal, winning the Super Bowl, right? That's our goal. But in a tribe, the team is the common goal. The value of each person, the progress of each person, the health and the wellness of each person, that's the common goal. Is to go win the Super Bowl? We will do that because my goal is to make sure that you have everything you need to be at your very best, and everything else will take care of itself.
What have you learned about leadership specific to moving people forward?
It's a good question. It's not the person who just leads in the front. It's not the person who just leads from the back. It's the person that I always come back to. It's the person that is surrounded by others and saying, well, what are your needs? How can I meet your needs? How can I provide you with what you need? When you're in the grassroots, you know what's needed. To me, what leadership looks like is a person who's amongst the people that they're leading, asking the questions, being a part of the tribe, not being on the outside of it, so that they're in tune with everything.
Humility, is that the trigger?
It is. It very much so is. The leadership that I'm talking about, servant leadership, you have to have the humility. You have to understand that I don't have all the answers, but my belief is that I'm giving you all of me so that you can have everything that you need. The ultimate leader in my eyes, Jesus Christ, that's exactly what he did. You know, he didn't lead just from the front or from the back. He was amongst the people. He served them, and he wasn't afraid to do so. What's not to admire? You know, Jesus on the cross, he's being crucified, and you have the wherewithal to say, forgive them, I forgive you. It's an unbelievable sacrifice to be that selfless. It's just so profound to me.
Hey, Doug, what does Christ-like look like today if we live that?
Well, it all comes back to love, right? Christ was love. And I think in order to have the love that Jesus had for us, you have to be empathic. You have to be willing to be vulnerable enough to go to a place where your natural instincts won't allow you to go to. And why are you so afraid to be vulnerable? Open your heart to others, even though they might not have the same opinion as you. My pain, there's some level of truth to it. Your pain, your insight, my insight, the difference of lives that we've lived, right? And I think that if there's a way for us to demonstrate truly the forgiveness, the commitment, the selflessness, the respect, the humility, the kindness, it's truly by being empathic. Really what you're gonna come out to is love. And again, Jesus is love.
Doug Baldwin, he gets it. Thank you so much for that story. Wow.
Remarkable understanding. Amen.
Amen. Well, we've got some questions for you. Are you ready?
All right.
All right, let's start with this one from Debbie. My sister is disabled and on government assistance. She is 60 and engaged for the very first time. She wants to get married in her church, but not through the state because she will lose her assistance. Her pastor will marry them. What does the Bible say? Because they will be married under God, but not under the state.
Well, I don't know how that trick works, what she's got in mind, how a marriage is a marriage, but
right.
Of course it's before God. I mean, that's what's important. You don't have to have some clerk of a court say you're legally married. It's before God, and that marriage is perfectly valid as far as the Lord goes, all right?
Amen. Well, Jeannie says, my husband and I disagree on tithing. I believe it's necessary, and he believes it's just a way for churches to make money. He tells me all the time, don't do that, they're baiting you. Please explain the importance of tithing and why it is necessary in our lives and our marriage.
Well, your husband is denying you the blessing of God. You see, Jesus said, this is very important. This is like fundamental. Give, and it'll be given unto you, pressed down, good measure, running over, will men heap into your bosom. Now, if you want an overflowing abundance of money into your marriage, then I recommend that you give unto the Lord. If you don't want that abundance, you and your husband can live in poverty. God bless you both. But it's your decision, your husband. It hasn't got anything to do with the churches pulling a con on you. It just isn't. I mean, it really isn't. You give unto the Lord, and he will repay, all right?
I pray he gets it because he's missing out.
But they're cutting themselves off to God's blessing. All right, what else?
Jesse says, is it okay for me to pray for my favorite sports team? I pray for the well-being of the players and coaches and their families, but is it okay to pray for them to win? We haven't won a championship in some time.
Well, I think what you better pray for them to do is either get a new coach and new players. I don't know.
If they haven't had
whatever
any
it is.
wins.
But there's nothing wrong with praying. I mean, you can pray for anything you want to. The Lord may not answer it, but nevertheless, you know, it depends on what you're praying for. All right.
Amen. Angelo says, in the last days, they talk about the trumpet blast. What are the chances that President Trump is that trumpet blast, being that his last name is part of trumpet?
I think that's ridiculous. I hate to say it, but it's ridiculous. We're talking about a horn blowing, and we're not talking about a president with a name that comes out of Scotland. You know, this is, you know, you play bridge, you know, 7-no Trump or something. I mean, you know, it doesn't.
Yeah.
It has nothing to do with the last trumpet.
So it's a Scottish last name, Trump.
Well, I think it's Scottish. There's some thought that his father was German.
Okay, we don't know.
Yeah, we don't know for sure. All right.
All right, Parker says, are we aware of anything when we die? Or are we sleeping until resurrection and when Jesus comes back? After someone dies, I hear people say things like, she's watching over us now, and I don't know if that's biblical or not.
No, I don't think watching over us is biblical, but being aware of what's going on. You know, this parable of the rich man and Lazarus, you know, the rich man was saying, I'm tormented. I've got brothers and sisters back on earth, and I'm tormented in this flame. Will you please send somebody from here to warn them? So we're conscious. I mean, this business of soul sleep is not in the Bible. We are every bit conscious, and the Lord said to the thief on the cross, this day you will be with me in paradise. Not this day will you be sleeping under the ground. All right.
I love that story. All right. Well, Joseph says, I was wondering if God thumps you on the head every time you do something wrong, or does he forgive you and give you grace and mercy, especially when it looks like you have no choice?
God doesn't go around thumping you on the head, but, you know, the Holy Spirit will advise you. And if you're sensitive to the Spirit is like an umpire, and it'll call balls and strikes. So when you feel the urging of the Holy Spirit, listen to him. And what you're going to do is to walk in the Spirit, and you will not fulfill the law of the flesh. We'll leave you with this power minute in the book of Isaiah. Those who wait on the Lord shall renew their strength. They shall mount up with wings like eagles. For Wendy and all of us, this is Pat Robertson. We'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.